Very good afternoon, all of you. On behalf of the NCSI Net Foundation and the J.R.D. Tata Memorial Library, I extend a very warm welcome to T.B.Rajashekar Memorial Lecture. So this is the 20th lecture in series. The lecture series was instituted by
இந்த புக் எக்ஸிபிஷனுக்கு நம்ம எங்க என்னைக்கு ஸ்டார்ட் ஆகுது எந்த இது பண்றோம் இல்லையா சோ அந்த மாதிரி அதுக்கு வந்து
can you please can everybody mute their mics please
நம்ம லைப்ரரியில இருந்து
hello please mute your mics
okay
Ilayaraja, can you mute your mic?
Mr. Ilayaraja.
So,
yes, sir, go
sorry.
ahead.
So I request all the attendees to mute their mics, please. So unmute it only when you have to interact with the speaker. Okay. So very good afternoon. On behalf of the NCSI Net Foundation and J.R.D. Tata Memorial Library, I extend a very warm welcome to this afternoon's Dr. T.B.Rajashekar Memorial Lecture 2025. So this is the 20th lecture in series, which was instituted by NCSI Net Foundation back in 2006. This lecture series is to pay tribute to late Dr. Rajashekar, to his life and to his contribution, which continues to leave which continues to inspire us. And we are honored to have Mr. Madhan Muthu, who is the Director of Library at OP Jindal University. And he will be delivering this afternoon's TBR Memorial Lecture. So on behalf of the organizing committee, on behalf of the J.R.D. Tata Memorial Library, I extend a very warm welcome once again to Mr. Madhan Muthu and all the attendees. I now request my colleague Dr. Shivram to conduct the proceedings. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for welcoming all our participants and our today's speaker. Hope my screen is visible.
Yes, visible, sir.
Yeah. It's my privilege and a fortune to say that I got a chance to introduce my guru and my mentor, Dr. T.B.Rajashekar. And he's not only for me, he was a guru. He was a guru for many NCSANs, and we proudly say that whatever we are today, it's because of Dr. T.B.Rajashekar and his mentorship, what he has given during our training program. So as Dr. Francis pointed out, this is the 20th memorial lecture we are organizing from NCSI Net Foundation Day in collaboration with the J.R.D. Tata Memorial Library. And today's speaker is Mr. Madhan Muthu. Before we start our today's memorial lecture, I will take few minutes and speak about Dr. T.B.Rajashekar. He was popularly known as TBR among our community, among known LIS professional. He did his BLIC from Mysore University and ADIS from DRTC, and of course PhD from Pune University. He started his career with the British Library, then moved to NIC Delhi in the early 80s. And later he joined erstwhile National Center for Science Information, that is popularly known as NCSI, in 1983 as a scientific officer. And because of his dedication, sincerity, and commitment to the work, he quickly rose to the position of principal research scientist, and also held the. Can you mute somebody? Held the honorary position of associate chairman at of NCSI. So about Dr. T.B.Rajashekar, NCSI was one of the 6 information center which was in the world to provide a computer-based selective information, that is STI service in late 80s or early 90s, we can say. And another important activity that NCSA was engaged is creating a qualified or a talented manpower to handle technology-based library and information services through its one-year training program for postgraduate students in LIS. They used to conduct all over India examination and select postgraduate students from library and information science to offer this course with a stipend. So that was a unique program which was running and created many LIS professionals who are serving in various institutes of repute. And NCSI has many firsts to its credit under the leadership of Dr. T.B.Rajashekar. As I told you in the previous slide, it was the first center in India to initiate software for SDI services that was developed in-house at NCSI. And also, you are all aware of LIS Forum. Okay, list forum, popularly known. So they have, it has got more than 5,000 subscribers as on date, and it was also established in way back in 1994 under the leadership of Dr. T.B.Rajashekar. You can see the visionary efforts what Dr. Rajashekar had. And also, NCSI was the first to develop a database-driven portal called Cygate to cater the information requirements of IASC faculty and researchers way back in 2001. Okay, so maybe that was very few institutes had that kind of a facility. And also he was instrumental in designing and developing a gateway called EGIS, Electronic Journal Information System, way back in 2000. So when e-journals were emerging. So always you used to develop a technologies on par with leading countries, we can say, in India. So under Dr. Rajashekar leadership, NCSY was one of the earliest to conduct various workshops on internet-related technologies. I can say since late early 90s onwards. So to give a tips regarding various emerging internet-related technologies, and he was a key member of the team which designed a curriculum for 18-month training program called Information and Knowledge Management conducted by NCSI, supported by DSIR in 2002. Till 2002, it was a one-year training program. Later, DSIR supported this program with the 18 months with a different nomenclature like Information and Knowledge Management course, which was also quite popular on those days. And this is one website which was developed way back in 90s. Late 90s, I would say. So after that, as I told you earlier, this was a screenshot taken from Cygate, which is a database-driven, first of its kind information portal developed way back in 2001 and 2002, which was widely appreciated by IAC academic community and research community. So it has many functionalities like it was fetching automated news readers and displaying. And there was various e-journals were integrated to that with the search and browse options, and all those latest functionalities which were required for a dynamic portal was incorporated in way back, say 25 years ago itself. And this is the electronic journal gateway which Dr. Rajashekar envisioned, and he designed this portal, and we enabled it was enabled to the IASC community again to access all subscribed e-journals. And he was very instrumental in developing various open access based repository. For example, ePrints at IASC was the first open access institution repository from India to develop and to archive publications published by IASC community. And of course, today's speakers will definitely throw some light on this initiative. And Dr. TBR handled several research and consultancy projects funded by both national and international agencies. And I got fortunate to work with him with two projects. One is Greenstone Digital Library, which was again funded by UNESCO in 2000-2001. And also FAO funded an iGate project where we developed an online tutorial for the digital library platforms. So it's like that he handled many international projects also as a consultant, and he has organized several national and international workshops on various themes like internet for information professionals, institutional repositories, digital libraries, and content management systems. And as a student, we wish to point out one thing, that whenever he organizes this kind of workshop, he used to give a full freedom and full opportunity for all of his students to be part of these workshops and gain experience as a both as a participant, as a resource person. He used to assign some topics, so we used to learn, and we used to be a resource persons in these kind of workshops. So that was his mentorship for his students. And he was an ardent proponent of open access to peer-reviewed scholarly content. As I told you earlier, can you meet, madam? Somebody? TBR was on many committees. He was there on the co-data committee, and he was instrumental in establishment and development of InfluBNet and the first e-resource consortium, which was again executed by IIT Delhi, and he, as in the name of Indest. Later it became eShow Sindhu. So he was the founder member in that consortium also. He was a fellow of Society of Information Science India, and he was a member of Karnataka Library Association and the Indian Library Association too. And unfortunately, very unfortunately, we lost him at a very young age, at the age of 51, in a road accident, which was shocking for many of us, and also for LIS community in India. So we really lost him, and he was a very humble human being. And we remember we used to conduct a monthly lectures. In one monthly lecture, our NCSNet monthly lecture, he said to all of us that one day we all end up in photo frames. What mattered in life was what one leaves behind for others. So with this philosophy, with this motto, after his untimely demise, we students of Dr. T.B.Rajashekar, we came together and we decided that we should follow the words of Dr. T.B.Rajashekar, and we should give back to the profession or give back to the society. So in this direction, we are organizing two events in the name of Dr. T.B.Rajashekar. One is Dr. T.B.Rajashekar Memorial Lecture in the month of June or July, to come on the remembrance of his death anniversary. He passed away on June 3rd, 2005. So every year we are organizing NCSNet T.B.Rajashekar Memorial Lecture. This is the 20th in that series. And also to celebrate his birth anniversary, we organize one day seminar, especially for a budding professionals and the student community, on a latest emerging technologies, which they can have a hands-on experience in one day event, and they can go back and they can implement at their places. So these are the two events we are regularly organizing, which Dr. Rajashekar, to honor Dr. Rajashekar's philosophy. And also after his demise, there was an informal NCSNet network was there. As a students, we used to come. Then we thought we will establish as a NCSNet Foundation, a full-fledged association to carry out various activities and also support fellow librarians. And in 2013, we registered NCSI Net Foundation as a charitable trust, and we are conducting these two activities along with. We are also collaborating with other professional forums to have this kind of educative programs. So this is our website, NCSNet Foundation website. Of course, whatever events we are conducting, we are updating. Of course, it is again driven by NCSNet students community. Of course, they are working, and also partly they are contributing to this portal to enrich this. And coming back to today's lecture, we are fortunate to have one of the open access advocate. Again, it was very close to Dr. T.B.Rajashekar's heart, and it's my privilege to introduce today's speaker to you all. And you're all familiar with this name, Madhan Muthu, maybe through LIS forum or through various open access forums. But still, it's my responsibility to introduce him. Mr. Madhan Muthu, presently working as a Director Library Operation in OP Jindal Global University, Sonipat, Haryana, India. And he is also a visiting scholar of DST Center for Policy Research, Indian Institute of Science, and he is closely working with Professor Arunachalam, who is again another renowned person in open access movement as far as India is concerned. And Madhan Muthu is an accomplished librarian with over 25 years of professional experience in research, academic librarianship. Throughout his career, he has been actively engaged in building and managing modern library system, enhancing access to scholarly resources, and fostering an environment of learning and research support in academic institutions. And he has served many institutions. Presently, is in OP Jindal. Prior joining to OP Jindal, he has served many reputed institutions like Ajim Premji University, ICRISAT, which is again an international research institute, NIT Rourkela, Indian School of Business, and various. He has got a vast experience with the different institutes, and his research interests goes on scientometrics, science policy, and open access to scholarly information. And he has several papers, essay papers to his credit, and he is regularly invited speaker for various conferences, various tutorial talks, workshops. With this brief introduction, I hand over session to Madhan for delivering a lecture on building open access infrastructure using interoperable technologies and capacity building, the idea behind Dr. T.B.Rajashekar initiatives. Over to Madhan.
Thank you, Shivram, for the generous introduction. Let me share my screen.
I stopped my share. Yeah. Yeah, it's visible. You can go for a presentation mode.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shivram, for the generous introduction. First of all, I'd like to thank Francis and the NCSI Net Foundation members for this opportunity to deliver the 20th T.B.Rajashekar Memorial Lecture. I feel truly honored. I met T.B. Rajashekar between 1998 and 2004 many times in many places. I have indeed, many times I applied for the fellowship for the Information and Knowledge Management course, but I failed due to various reasons. From that point onwards till 2004, I met him many times. I participated in the workshops which he organized in the campus of Indian Institute of Science at least twice, and I have participated in the meetings where he delivered talks. He has visited M.S. Swaminathan Research Foundation in 2004. For the workshop, which was organized by Professor Subbaya Arunachalam, inviting people from University of Southampton. His name was Leslie Carr, and then Leslie Chan from the University of Toronto, in which Dr. Rajashekar was also participated as a trainer. Indeed, I accompanied him in the car which dropped him after the meeting. In the car which dropped him to the airport, I accompanied him, and then I had I have the memory of talking to him from the M.S. Swaminathan Research Foundation to the airport, which is about some 10 kilometers in a car. That was when I met him last. After that, I heard only his very, very untimely demise in the year 2005. But every time when I met him, I was truly inspired. Every meeting of him was inspirational at once. Every interaction with him was very, very informative, and overall, it used to be a kind of very, very learning experience. In this talk, I would look back at Dr. Rajashekar's work and try to explain what he contributed, and discuss a bit about why those contributions are still relevant, and it is very, very important in this point in time. And I will I'm going to rely only on information available online, websites and digital archives, and the journals in which T.B. Rajashekar has written articles, and the presentations which he archived in social media sites, which are available. I don't know whether he archived it or someone else did it, but they are available in the slide sharing services and so on. So to start with, I think this editorial after his demise, Professor Subbaya Arunachalam and Professor N. Balakrishnan of the Indian Institute of Science wrote an obituary. This is perhaps, I'm not sure, but
Madhan, sorry to interrupt. Your screen is not moving, Madhan.
One second. Let me. Okay.
Yeah, now it's fine.
Now it's fine, right?
Yeah.
Are you able to see this bigger one?
Yes. Yeah, we are seeing that editorial. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. I'm sorry. I think my net is slightly down here. Let me see. I'll be able to complete it. No problem. And this I would like to start my presentation from this obituary, which was written by Professor Subbaya Arunachalam and Professor N. Balakrishnan of the Indian Institute of Science. Perhaps I haven't seen an obituary in current science for librarians. So this could be the first obituary for a librarian in a famous science magazine featured it. So this is a kind of testimony for the contributions and the impact that he has created within the scientific community is to be truly noted. And it is a very, this obituary has much information, that will actually supplement or add to what Shivaram mentioned in the introduction. And as you all know, one of his remarkable contributions are, whenever I say T.B. Rajashekar, I think I mentioned the T.B. Rajashekar and the team, because he had a beautiful set of wonderful people around him, and with their help, he was able to accomplish. But the leadership that he gave through the programs of the National Center for Science Information is the one that I'm trying to highlight here. The LIST forum, which actually connects, as Shivaram told, it's more than 5,000 librarians it connects. I think it's a wonderful platform for knowledge sharing and opportunity sharing and so on. So this has been running ever since it was set up. That itself is truly saying the importance of the services that were developed at the NCSI when he was heading. And before we go further, and as mentioned in the obituary, there were many articles at that time you can come across to talk about digital libraries, the arrival of computers, arrival of networks, arrival of protocols, and so on. But what distinguishes Dr. Rajashekar was that he used to write as well as he used to build things. So it will be very, very easy to understand his concepts through the services that he developed using the web, probably the 1.0 technologies. Just now, before this talk, when I was searching the archives, I found one service called Memex. He was truly inspired by the word Memex, which was first used by Vannevar Bush in before 1950. He wrote an article thinking of one single interface to the world's unified knowledge. So he developed. I saw a service that memex.ernet, iasc.ernet.in, but that's not accessible. So we have to check the records in the Internet Archive or somewhere whether that particular service has been archived. So he used to build things. That is one point and one feature that actually distinguishes Dr. Rajashekar from many others who proponents of digital libraries of that time. And second point I would like to emphasize here is the time. The time when Professor Dr. Rajashekar passed away, the year was 2005. In 2005, just 2-3 months ago, before his demise, the first video of in the YouTube was uploaded by one of the founders. So 2005 is the beginning, or I'm not sure, I think, whether the Web 2.2 idea has started gaining momentum. It had got some maturity. So all these initiatives were before Web 2.2 technologies. See, it is easy for us to now to build a website using open source content management systems available. There are many available, and it is just a matter of putting things together, plug and play, and a person with simple coding skills will be able to build wonderful websites now. And if you look at our universities' websites today, if you look at the universities' websites all over the world, so one might think that all the universities are like Harvard or MIT are big places, because we are able to develop superb websites. So when Rajashekar was there, that was not the case, because the web was just coming, and the technologies were 25 years is a very long time in computer technology, because so many technologies have come and so many technologies have become obsolete in the period of 25 years. So his contributions were when we just had computers with very limited capacities, and the web was just coming. The internet was just coming, available to only a limited number of privileged institutions only were having some reasonable bandwidth internet. That time, all his initiations were of that time. So that is the idea part, you know. So I also had access to internet in the year 2000 when I was working for MS Swaminathan Research Foundation. And we used to work on Fox Pro kind of packages, and then develop library automation softwares and so on. But other than that, using web, what to do? Web connects people, and we knew that information is going to be largely available in digital form. It's going to be transmitted using web and related technologies, and so on. But with the availability of web and related technologies, what one should do was a problem. It was a hiccup. So that is when he initiated his services, and that was really remarkable to follow him, because he used to conceive ideas, and then it used to be developed as a product, so you can actually see how things unfold. My slide changed, Frank?
Not yet, Madhan.
Oh, it takes a bit of time. Now is it okay?
No, it's still in the editorial slide. Yeah, now it has changed. Yeah.
So it takes time. So I'll manage the process in that way. So the initial types. So if you look at his papers published in journals, the one in Resonance in 1997, his thoughts were about what is digital library, how to use computers in libraries, how to connect computers, how to provide services with local area networks, and then how to use CD-ROM technologies effectively, how to mount CDs in one place so that many can have access to information which were stored in CD-ROM technologies, and so on. So his focus had been mainly on digital libraries. That's what he has written, and he was one of the editors of a book, Digital Libraries, which I, if I'm right, is a kind of output from a conference. So his initial times, I hope this screen changed now.
Not yet, not yet.
Oh, it takes long time. Yeah.
Yeah, it has changed.
Right. So I'm sorry. So the one of the important places, of course, his articles are available. Many are available in public domain, in the whatever at least published in journals, and the presentations that he used for conferences and meetings and so on. And some of them are available. But most important source to know about his writings and ideas about digital libraries to interoperable institutional repositories has been well captured by the publication that was brought out by Informatics India in the year 2005. I think this came out at the 25th anniversary of the Informatics India, the founding of Informatics India that time. So the articles, the reflections part has articles from different experts, from Subbaya Arunachalam, Professor Balkrishnan, and indeed Rajasekar has also has written an article, and Satya has written, Professor Shalini, Professor Venkatesan, and so on. But the columns which he wrote for You and I newsletter, which was published by Informatics India, has well captured his writings. It's all very short pieces, small essays about what actually is digital library is about, what is metadata, what is reference linking is all about, the use of XML technologies. And then the later part in 2003, 2002 and 2003, his writings are all about institutional repositories and interoperability of institutional repositories, and the protocols which are involved in building and the interoperable institutional repositories, which are institutionally defined, and upload papers in the institutional repositories, and then can see the connections between institutional repositories. So in the presentation which he made in the year 2003, that is coming, in 2003, he clearly used the idea of data provider and service provider concepts that is actually the backbone of the interoperability in institutional repository softwares. By the time the first version, if I'm right, I think in 2003, the first version of the protocol, OAI-PMH protocol, already came in, and the first version of the open source software, the ePrints, developed at University of Southampton, was also available. They are very, first version means really first version. The ePrints has got, has got a huge change in its architecture and its the availability of tools, and the ePrints has seen a sea change from the first version of the release of the first version to the latest version that is normally available in recent times. So his focus from 2002 to 2004, I think he stopped writing much about digital libraries, but he started focusing more on the institutional building institutional repositories, and see how these institutional repositories can be used, as he mentioned, to solve the problems of India. He has written in one of his articles, he said, India has two problems. One is the access problem, access to information problem. The other one is the visibility problem. So Indian research is not visible. There are a lot of barriers for the visibility of Indian Indian research to be available to all possible would-be users. He thought these institutional repositories could be a solution to solve India's problems in terms of access to information and its visibility. By saying that, I would say that he could foresee that institutional repositories could become a main medium of communication by scientists. He would have expected sooner. It's already 25 years, but let's see how much things have happened in the past 25 years. As I said, I think there are a lot of presentations, there are papers he has written, and he has explained all these things in a very detailed way, useful for librarians like me that time, because I was eager to learn, but by the time I have completed my master's degree and I was working that time, but that time to explain things in this way was a very useful way of learning things. So all these papers and ideas, presentations were very, very useful. At the same time, all his ideas came from his initiatives at the Indian Institute of Science. He started using that primitive web technologies and started building, some of which the Shivram had highlighted. I would like to expand it little further. So he started defining materials, products, information products, and creating metadata for the products and creating access to it. These are all small databases. Even before the portal idea comes, using simple HTML techniques, he started building services. And he started organizing the electronic journals. Electronic journals were just coming in. We had just formed our first consortium. The INDUST consortium was almost there, and many libraries started getting both print journals as well as online journals. So the libraries were forced to maintain a website and list all the online journals available to their users. So they wanted some convenient mechanisms. So he started building portals later in, after the first generation websites. He started building portals using web technologies, and I could still see the IP number that was used. All these slides I could download from slideplayer.com. His presentations were archived, but after 10 days after I downloaded these images, and the services are not available. There are some problems. Lucky that I could I could take a snapshot of these web pages from the slides that he used for his presentations during 2000 and 2004 that time. So if you look at the information portals, the ideas, again, it is before the Web 2.0. Using simple technologies, he started featuring services and placing information, and then make the websites as a happening place, site of the day, what is new, and what is available, science news headlines, running a magazine.
Madhan, sorry to interrupt. Madhan, sorry to interrupt. Slide is not moving.
You are in this slide? Did you see this slide?
No, nothing is seen.
You're here.
No, your slides are not visible at all now.
Okay. Let me go back and come back. Give me a minute. Let me stop sharing and. I hope you are able to see it now.
Yeah. Now, yeah.
It's moving also, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. So did you see this slide when I explained about the e-journal information?
No. The one what we saw last was that metadata harvesting. That yeah. This I think we have to start from here. Yeah.
Yeah, this was what I was mentioning about. These I could take the snapshot of that sites. This was the electronic journal information service, which Shivram had already highlighted the service. Anyway, you didn't miss much. And the next one is the portal, the Cygate portal that he developed. If you look at the portal, the way it was developed that time, and I could see one could see the IP now from this slide shot. And then he started using metadata of products, journals, and then search interfaces to search journals available. And then he was making the site as a very happening place. This was the site. This was a website built some 25 years ago. You please look at using very old technologies of that time. But the aesthetics part of these websites also we should note. The sites were very appealing. Imagine 25 years ago how scientists at the Indian Institute of Science would have thrilled to see all these services and journal availability in online to their desktop. A good number of journals, at least if not all, a good number of journals were available. And then the NCSI team could develop services such as these to connect the information available in online journals to their users. It's noteworthy. And at that time, I'm sure not many libraries were able to develop services using web and related technologies the way NCSI team was developing and then making it available for the Indian Institute of Science clients. So as I said, as soon as the first version of the ePrints came in, their team jumped in, and Madhuresh was, just before the meeting, I was talking to, Madhuresh, and I was talking, and he mentioned it was his student project at the NCSI Net, and that was developed into the institutional archive of the Indian Institute of Science. You please see, I think it is a kind of, there is some BUSH, bush.ncsi.iasc.ernet. There are a lot of dots, the domain name building and all of that time. So this, in my opinion, I think the NCSI team, which is present in this meeting, would be able to confirm that whether this was the first version of the ePrints, it looked like this way. And the interface looks same, and ePrints has a well thought out, content input system. And these basic ideas haven't changed in ePrints even now. But technically and by feature wise, ePrints is now very advanced, and ePrints has a bazaar of plugins available to really create meaningful services using ePrints and so on. But this was the first time. When this instance was made available online first, not many institutions in the world, I would say, had set up an institutional repository, definitely not in India. Later, slightly later, the Documentation Research and Training Center at the Indian Statistical Institute, where Professor Prasad initiated and promoted DSpace in a big way. I learned a lot from Prasad. In fact, he taught, I learned about what is Unix is all about, in which I'm fairly comfortable now, even if I'm not an expert in a big deal, but I have no fear to operate Linux-based machines and the backend operations. It's largely because of people like T.B.Rajashekar and team, and then and Dr. A.R.D. Prasad and his team. These two places in our time were a kind of IITs for librarians. I'm just giving a comparison. It's in a positive sense. People would like to join in either DRTC or NCSI course because the entire methodology of teaching was different. It's mostly about hands-on. It's all project-based, and it is all about time-bound delivery of things. And then it's all about organizing meetings, workshops, and teach others about how to actually set up such services to others. So I'm just showing you of that time technologies and its products. So this was the first interface, the front interface of ePrints. ePrints gave this interface for a long time. Even now, the bare minimum installation, the blank installation without any customization will look like very humbly like this. But I was actually so thrilled to see all these open source softwares help libraries and information service providers like NCSA and DRDC to build services for their communities within the boundaries of the institution where the institutions are, and outside the institutions as well. This is perhaps the first paper which was archived in the repository, because I went by the number. Then I could see the 31th record was Professor N.V. Joshi's paper on some very interesting problems. This hypothesis is a very interesting hypothesis. And this came with some browsing options, and you can see the latest edition, simple and advanced search. And the important feature which was incorporated by the team is that time ePrints did not have the feature of searching the full texts of the papers uploaded in the repository. You could search only up to the metadata level. The metadata has not been very comprehensive because we are using the minimum Dublin core metadata. So the NCSA team incorporated a feature where the full text search was done by the Greenstone Digital Library, which Shivaram was mentioning. They got a project and they had mastery in that tool. So they were able to easily incorporate the full text search feature of Greenstone Digital Library into ePrints. You see, two different products have been merged together to advance the features of the repository software. That these kind of experiments, I think we should search. I think there is no record of all this information. Very, very unique in the world of that time. So I would say I have no hesitation to say that, because I was a keen observer of the developments at NCSI of that time. I was working at the M.S. Swaminathan Research Foundation. Then one day I saw a very beautiful interface of ePrints. By the time they tested, the team tested different versions, and they have had a good hands-on of the file systems and the technology involved in implementing ePrints. Then I saw one day, this was definitely before 2005 or 2002 or 3, it was a beautiful website. That is when actually I developed interest. By the time I had two or three meetings I had already attended at the NCSI, not meeting, the workshops, which I'll speak about it in a few minutes from now. But from sitting in Chennai, connecting the web and typing this URL, it was a different URL that time, and see this site, a screen full of a beautiful website. Fortunately, the same interface has been maintained by Francis and his team. So I'm very happy. Still, this is more than 22 years old developed screen interface. Maybe the technologies might have changed. The recent submission feature was tweaked by the NCSI team that time. I learned, they developed a small piece of code to show the recent submissions on the front screen now. Now it is fairly easy with the latest technologies available in ePrints, so we can easily customize these features. But that time, 25 years ago, when they developed, it was a stunning visual to me at that time. So these were the developments. You see, a team started building services, and then he also wrote about the technologies and ideas behind such initiatives. So when these came together, it was really helpful for me, a librarian trying to use technologies when somebody else is doing already and demonstrating, and they were ready to teach me. It was a very fortunate part of my life that I could also live. Yeah, could you please mute your phones, because if it is interrupts, then the recording will go waste, and it will create problems. It's a humble request. So what is actually the idea behind these initiatives and these focus? Before going in, I think by 2005, the Indian Institute. I think you should mute your phone. Again, a request, please, all of you. The Indian Institute of Science had already set up the first repository in using DSpace. I saw the accession date in the present. It is available. Both the services are available, and if you could go and see these records, so these were developed, when Rajasekar was alive. So there were continuous experiments with new open source tools and technologies, and how they help organize information. All these were happening in the NCSI, and that was a very interesting moment of time in the library science education, library science and technology interface. The education and learning in that interface was very much needed of that time. So we had access to all these computers and technologies, but how to use these web-related technologies effectively to provide services to your clients required lot of people's help in experimentation and their generous donation of knowledge. So what is actually the idea behind these initiatives? Why the institutional repository idea came? Why Dr. Rajasekar and his team were quick enough to grasp all these technologies and put it into use? The main problem was, by the time the idea of open access movement started gaining momentum, because web came, emails were ubiquitous at that time, and scientists started thinking about then how to really solve the problems associated with print journals. One is about delay, another one is about particularly during the peer review delay. In the impact cycle of a research paper, paper writing to paper publishing, even now it is taking a long time, has been taking a long time. By the time in many fields, the ideas started getting obsolete. So the open access proponents said, why should we have interoperable repositories and solve the, improve the impact cycle of research papers. So by the time the archive was set up, the preprint servers were set up, and Stephen Harnard wrote his subversive proposal article, and then which created a lot of discussion in the scientific circles, particularly in the North America and the Western Europe. But it quickly came to India because Arnad had visited India, MS Swaminathan Foundation in the year 2000. So by the time people like Rajasekar and many others started thinking about these ideas, and the protocols were available. So what they thought is that as soon as a version is ready, as physicists used to communicate, physicists have been using this idea of circulating preprints even before the internet comes. They used to use the postal technologies to share their preprints and get their opinion, get peers' opinion. And the physics community has a strong invisible college. They don't depend on journals much. Their network is very strong. So people-to-people connection is very strong in physics. So they immediately set up a server called by Paul Ginspark, set up and using first generation ideas. He set up one server that was called Archive, and that was available. Now we have bioRxiv. So let us create preprint servers like Archive so that every researcher would be able to self-archive their preprints so that the communication cycle, impact cycle begins at the preprint level. At the preprint level, the echo is coming. You have to mute your phone. Yeah, thank you. Archive and bioRxiv, and once let the journals can coexist with the system. So let people can submit their papers to journals. Let it be peer reviewed. Once the postprint, which is the final refereed draft, is ready, then one should be able to self-archive the postprint in the institutional repositories that were set up at the institutional levels. So you would have the preprints available, also the postprints available open. As soon as the peer-reviewed version is ready, that will go to the institutional repositories, which are interoperable again. I will, in the previous slides, you might have seen the diagram of interoperability, which I will show you now. And the impact access barrier will be solved. So by creating trusted repositories, and the repositories provide opportunities to scientists all over the world, the visibility problem would go away because everything is available to everyone in the moment the content is ready, knowledge is ready. So this idea, they thought, I think, could solve the access problem, because if the well-funded universities could subscribe to the published versions of the publishers, journal publishers, they will subscribe to it. The others who don't have access to these content would get the post-print version through institutional repositories. This was precisely the idea. This was the reason why the Indian Institute of Science, through NCSI team, set up an institutional repository for the Indian Institute of Science. So now you see, it's very well demonstrated. In Dr. Rajasekar's time, there were not many harvesters. In his presentations and articles, he mentioned only the Oyster, which is no longer available, or it is merged with some other services. Now we have much more modern and superb services are available. You see, the institutional repositories will be the data providers, and the Bilofield Academic Search Engine are the core, which was set up and managed by JISC. Initially JISC, now it is core is a kind of foundation. They will harvest the metadata periodically and seamlessly from these repositories, which are set up at the institutions. The idea is very simple. Every institution, as we just spoke about, has a website, a very beautiful website. Most of the university websites are very beautiful. Similarly, every institution will have an interoperable institutional repository. That's it. And the expenses will be as much as maintaining a website with some content. Big institutions may have a good number of contents, and they may have to invest a little more on the server. and the interface is free. Open source tools are available, and the protocols are open. So with all these things, we were able to decentralize the information archiving and dissemination. Initially, the publishers were the only person providing scientific information to all the possible would-be users. Now the institutions will take up the responsibility and maintain an archive and deposit all the papers published in the institutions in that archive. And the users who need not to really navigate across the thousands of institutional repositories, service providers will jump in, harvest the metadata periodically and seamlessly, and index it in one place so that you have a single interface to search across institutional repositories, but the content availability is completely distributed. This actually terrified the publishers because they had complete control over scholarly communication. But as soon as this idea was proposed and implemented, which really terrified, that is when the journal publishers started embargoing archiving in institutional repositories. They had no other go. They knew this is simple, elegant, powerful technologies that would snatch the control from the publishers to institutions and authors. That is where the publishers started enforcing embargoes, 1 year embargo, 2 year embargo, and so on. And they started creating a narrative of immediate open access and delayed open access through repositories. All these had no meaning. So institutional repositories are hosted to serve their clients, and these repositories are platforms for the researchers and institutions to host their work. And these threats could have been easily overcome, and we could have built a mechanism using institutional repositories all over the world. We could have got much more flexible, inclusive, open access by now, but that has not happened. That we will discuss in the slides to come. So the present day institutional repositories, as I said, the first generation repository to the latest ones you see. I'm showing Digital Commons. It's a repository system which was published by BPress initially, now acquired by Elsevier. You should note that all initiatives by private type of individual type of agencies were acquired or absorbed by agencies like Elsevier. But the institutional repositories through open source maintained by institutions, that I think they will not be able to overcome. But Elsevier has a lot of money to invest on capturing that ecosystem is also. But the repository systems like whether it is University of Southampton or now the Lyrasis Foundation, the community took over the responsibility of developing the repositories into a big way, and they have fairly succeeded. I think most of the repositories now available on the net are built on open source technologies. They may have fancy features in the one that is sold by Elsevier, but the open source software also caught up. All this followed up and developed early, indeed. All these features, these come, the present day repositories come with a repository statistics plugin with which you can have full control over who is actually accessing your papers, who, why. In our institutions, the students' write-ups and preprints posted in SSRN have been downloaded many number of times than the articles published by our faculty. So you can create snippets, and most importantly, using the present day repository systems, you can create a happening service. So in the repositories, as Professor Balaram mentioned in one of his interviews, should not be burial grounds. It should not be only the full text supplying platform. So you have to highlight the important articles written by your faculty members. You have to conduct a meeting of highly discuss about highly cited papers in your repository, so that you have to create a connection between the actual user and the main stakeholder of the service, which is the research scholar in your university and the repository. But we librarians should actually develop services around these repositories and build. In many places, it is actually happening in a good way. In University of Nebraska, they improve the preprints into double columns, like the way journals used to typeset. They do value-added services on top of just archiving. So we have to do all such services to really attract our scientists to use this platform to self-archive her paper, to make it available for all possible would-be users. So so we spoke a lot about technology and the platforms which Rajasekar and his team developed and its importance in scholarly communication, and which is used by a lot, and which in my opinion is a very revolutionary idea. It may sound very simple. These protocols, the repositories, now many people have set up institutional repositories in there for their institute, but they are not ordinary websites. They are compliant to a protocol called OAI PMH, and that does all the wonders. And we will see the features more in the slides to come. The most important part of Rajasekar's service is the capacity building initiatives. The primary initiative is the information and knowledge management course. The later part, it was an 18-month course, stipended. See, in India, there was a training program which paid money to the trainees. That was a very interesting opportunity for librarians. That's when I think these NCSI selection process and DRTC selection processes and all might be seeing a lot of applications. And NCSI would have seen a good number of applications. Twice I cleared the examination, but I could not clear. It was a very rigorous process of selection. That's what these members of these NCSA were fortunate, and then they are all very thankful to the unit and the people involved in it. And they have been conducting this memorial lecture for 20 years. That is the testimony. That's not a simple thing. An event that happens for 20 years uninterruptedly, which means there is something has happened. That is what we should take note of here. The people and their services and the impact that they have created on individuals' lives and the society's lives as a whole. So the NCSA used to conduct a lot of workshops. I am one of the main beneficiaries of this workshop. In one day, I was sitting in the library at the MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, and Professor Subbaya Arunachalam crossed. And then he asked me if I knew about the workshop, which was organized by the NCSI team in 1999 or 2000. I'm not able to recall precisely the year, but he asked me if I knew about that workshop organized by NCSI. I said no. Then he said you must attend. So he went on to talk to my boss to get me an approval, and he told me, Madhan, you have an approval to go to Bangalore. That's when I came to Bangalore first time in 1999 to the campus Indian Institute of Science, and I met people like Francis, Dr. Rajasekar, Philbert, and many others. My friends were the trainees at the library, and some of my friends were studying part of the course. And the workshops that they organized at a very, very cheaper cost for a few thousands, they would, and a very cheaper rent for stay for 5 days, 6 days, and very good food, and tea, coffee, biscuits, and computers in front of you. And then they will train you, give you a hands-on training at a very, very cheaper cost, maybe some $10, $20, $100 max. That's of the work. But it was much more the cost outweigh the benefits actually one gets would certainly outweigh the cost involved in that meeting. And they continuously organized programs, and they were ready to help people who asked them help. That is an important part of NCSI and the NCSI net now that it continues to do the service, which is very, very important, remarkable, appreciable, and we should really thank the team, the NCSI team, for continuously providing the services, and services like list forum and all is part of our profession now, which is very, very important. And I'm highlighting some of the earlier courses and the institutional repositories, and the idea of institutional repository spread very quickly in India. At the same time, it was gaining momentum all over the world. So that's a remarkable thing that time. So now, using this technology, what has happened all over the world? Let's come to the relevance part of today. See, now we have discussed about ideas, products, and services developed by a team of people. Now, what is the role of repositories in today's open access discussions, in our open science discussions? In India, Science Central, one single person, his name is Alok Khode. He is from Pune. He has set up many repositories. Indeed, CSIR has friends like Satya, and they were able to set up on their own, and they were able to populate the repositories with Murari Tapasvi at CSIR and all. They were already doing it, but in later part, when they wanted to set up repositories for all the CSIR laboratories, the Pune laboratory, where people started building a grid of repositories using ePrints. In ePrints, you can, in one instance, you can host multiple instances. That is one of the important feature of ePrints, and it also differentiates the other softwares also. So there is one instance now. Science Central is hosting all the repositories for institutions funded by Department of Science and Technology and Department of Biotechnology. This is for intramural funding, institutions funded by the intramural funds of DBT and DST, and they have set up one common repository for the papers funded by, and the funds goes to outside these institutions also. Similarly, they have a grid of central institutional repository hosting for CSIR laboratories. This is possible. This is all very low cost, and sitting in one place, if you can create a shared infrastructure by paying some small subscription fee or contributory fee, and then you will be able to set up institutions for a cluster, and you will be able to create harvesters for only this cluster. At the same time that you can extend your metadata to other harvesters also. So this is very much possible. These CSIR net and the Science Central is in India. For this, I would say it's an important initiative in the history of open science, in the history of evolution of open science in India. So this was very much possible. Let us see what happened in other countries. See, China is going to fund a lot. China has decided already that their open access route is through the green route, famously called. They are going to build a repository, institutional repository infrastructure, and they are ready to fund billions of yens, and to make their research outputs preserved. At the same time, they make them available to all possible would-be users across the world. China has all the 666 universities in Japan are are built at, of the 816 universities, 666 universities have institutional repositories. The data is available in the presentation which was made by colleagues from Nagoya University and in the core repositories meeting. So this is the way repositories are coming into the scholarly communication domain. Their influence is going to be very, very big in the future. The first period is dominated or appropriate. This idea was appropriated by largely the commercial publishers. But now the world has fairly realized the drawbacks with the commercial system and the barriers that it erects again, much worse than the print system, all that and all. Now the policies are now towards Japan is one of the major science producing nations. So when they set up and populate their repositories, that will make a big impact, I hope, will make a big impact on the world. And already a large proportion of the universities have a repository in the place, first of all. So let's go for China. So I met Liu Shivan in a meeting recently at Cape Town, in which he presented about the initiatives in China. China has 3 major institutional repository consortia targeting universities and the Chinese Academy of Institution and public national foundation outcomes. And they have harvested all the preprint papers available in different preprint servers, and they have a preprint platform for their own servers. So they are creating a massive preservation initiative, first of all, and while paying a large sum of money to publishers to publish for APCs, article processing charges. China is the major contributor for the article processing charges in the world. At the same time, they are also building the institutional repositories in a big way. There is one grid for the Chinese Academy of Sciences institutional repository grid provides more than about 114 research institutes. Repositories of these institutes are available in one place. And the Open Repositories Conference, almost all the universities in the UK and USA have repositories, because while they are underwriting the costs for article processing charges, they are encouraging their users to use repositories to publicize their to disseminate their research ideas, because that is low cost. Now, the NIH and OSTP, the Office of the Science and Technology Policy of the United States of America, has clearly mandated that the papers published using government funds should come to a repository. Whether it can be an institutional repository or a subject repository, but it should come to the public domain through repositories. The repository ideas was overshadowed by the commercial publishers and the nations that host these publishers. So all that they were actually diverting the attention towards publishers on open science initiatives. But in my opinion, the repositories are going to dominate the scholarly communication sphere in the future very soon. And in my opinion, also the repositories are going to be the only way if you actually want to quickly achieve open access to scholarly information. So you can have preprint repositories, and you should have institutional repositories mandatorily, and then ritually we have to contact authors and harvest metadata, upload their papers. And if we can do, if all institutions do, at least if all scholarship producing institutions do, I sincerely hope that we can achieve open access in a much quicker way than it has happened in the recent past. So if you look at the the number of papers are available open access in different secondary sources. Now you see, in 2025, I used to go to NCSI to collect data, bibliometric data for the projects and studies which Professor Arunachalam had undertaken. Only in a few places we had databases in CD-ROMs, web data. Even after it came to web, only a few institutions had access to secondary databases. Now we have many freely available secondary sources like lens.org or OpenLX. Even in commercial databases like Dimensions give certain areas open to all users of secondary sources. Now it's a golden time for literature search. We have freely available secondary sources indexing millions of records are available. This is largely because of these open access initiatives, which was taken 25 years ago, and the developments and the products of such ideas. For example, the lens.org, which is a kind of unified record of papers available in Microsoft Academic, which is no longer available, and Crossref and PubMed and OpenLX. Of the 142 million data set, 68.2 million are open access. And if you look at the past 10 years data in the major databases like Web of Science or Scopus, more than 45% of the papers are available open access. And the number of open access papers are reducing. We have had predatory journals, we have had something called mega journals, and then publishers have made a huge mess in open science, and people have started realizing, I think, if in 25 years we could have achieved 100% open access if we had followed, taken up the only green route, if we had seriously followed this route and then set up institutions, we could have long before achieved 100% open access, because these databases are now harvesting data from different repositories and give the green gold ratios and so on and all. So all these things happen in a very seamless and distributed way. So this is my last slide. So it has been more than 20 years since the passing away of Dr. T.B.Rajashekar. And if you look back and see the developments in India, many things have happened and many things could have happened. All the leading institutions in India could have set up one institutional repository and archive the papers. Don't worry about the copyright and the other things and all. These are all nothing. The copyright, the Creative Commons license, and it's not about all these things. Exercising too many rights on scientific contents, that's not the issue of immediate importance for us. Improving access to information. First, give accessibility to papers for one to read. That is the most important part. That is what we should achieve immediately. And what I would request through this forum is that we should, if we want to truly honor the vision of Rajashekar, and if we think this repository route is the one the librarians should promote, I think we should do three things immediately. One is that we should form a collective. I think individual services to impress the institutional administration is one way. I think we should actually form a collective, and then we should work like the other groups are working, and then we should have a knowledge sharing forum. We should use LIS forum and kind of forums effectively to share knowledge about how to install and populate and how to really share knowledge about repositories and scholarly communication and open science things. If you look at the
10 minutes.
If you look at the profiles of many scientists all over, there are scholarly communication librarians, open science librarians, and so on. So we should also develop such scholarships and we should adopt a standard metadata schema for our Indian repositories to maintain uniformity in records and make Indian repositories visible to the world by integrating our repositories in international harvesters, directories, aggregation service providers, so that the scholarly output archived will flow into the networks and reaches the users. And I'm sorry I've taken much time, more than 1 hour. I'm sorry, really. Thanks a lot for the opportunity, and I stop here. And if you have any questions, I'll be very happy to answer. I once again thank Francis and the NCSA Foundation members. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhan, for your insightful talk. In fact, it was like a nostalgia for us because I was NCSA trainee during '97. So we have met many times. There were some questions. There is one question from Hemant Kumar. He says, he has thanked you for your insightful talk, and he says, am I audible, Madhan?
Yes, you are. Yes, sure. Please go ahead.
In looking at open access repositories in India, I have run into a few patterns. Some are only available on the intranet. Many haven't fully set up OAPMH, so their metadata can't be harvested. And even when it is, the quality can be uneven. For example, using a student's roll number as DC identifier or something. Then his question is, I understand things like security and server load can be concerns, but it feels like we are missing a chance to really bring open access to life. From your perspective, what's stopping more institutions from building truly open and interoperable institution repositories, and what could help move the needle?
Nothing stops us. It is our inertia, nothing else. We should do that. Francis has helped many institutions. He is running a repository and talking to people, harvesting records from different databases, adding full text. And in our we have repositories. So if you want to develop a repository, develop. That's it. It's as easy as that. So you should first develop and then persuade a couple of people in your institution and to self-archive and show the benefits. First, you put things, just set up a repository and put things there. Software is open, people are there to help, and server costs have come down. You can host your repository as low as some 2,000 rupees or 3,000 rupees per month cost, and nothing stops us. And opening the OAI PMH to all possible to the service providers and all, it's all a matter of few clicks. So what I see is stopping us is the inertia. I think we have to completely come out from the inertia and then think about it. We should have a kind of active alliance of librarians to think about it, speak about it, implement it, and then how to really make an advocacy at the national level and campaigning at local level. What else? The changing roles of librarians. What are the other jobs for libraries? We have already got large language models arrived. So what are the services, effective services that librarian can show to their clients? So we have to start it immediately and take advantage of all the facilities available in India, people available in India, resources available in India and elsewhere, and then create repositories, populate it, and you will see a remarkable change. And you will be the node of one of the important nodes of scholarly communication in the world. It's a very good feeling. Yeah.
Professor Asundi has raised his hand. Sir, can you unmute and ask your question, sir? Yeah, please.
Good afternoon, Dr. Muthu. I am Professor Asundi, retired professor from Bangalore University. Retired about 25 years back, but I'm very active to do a lot of research and like. My handicap is that whenever I want some papers, I find it very difficult to get them because either I have to pay for the downloading or getting it from some other library and other thing. How the open access will help the people like the freelance researchers like us?
Actually, at least 50% of the research output produced across the world are available in open mode, some or other way, or that is what the databases that we use say. The remaining 50%, so the open access movement came to solve the problems that you actually put forward here. And we could have achieved 100% open access had we really set up institutional repositories all over the world, at least in leading universities and research producing universities. And had we populated our repositories, this problem would have been solved long ago. That is what we are trying. But whatever happened over a period of time in the past 25 years, I would say roughly in the recent 10 years, at least 50% of all what research produced are available open. And the rest of them are still behind the financial firewall. So we should intensify our efforts to make that remaining 100% open to all. I would say the repositories are the best way to achieve that.
My point is that actually one of the archival articles which was published in 1980, which I could download directly from the journal site, but now has been put under the repository and I am not able to access to that one. One of the articles which was published in 1980, for about 2-3 years ago, it was available. I could download and use it. But now it is put under the repository of some university and is not accessible now. Yeah, are these things are happening like archives are put under the repositories?
Actually, there are many ways to preserve the disappearance of servers and initiatives, web initiatives, and so on. There are a lot of schemes available. That is what when we form a network, then we will be able to send our records to logs kind of initiatives where multiple copies are stored in one place, so the disappearance will be stopped. So all that can be achieved through these repositories. So these are the repositories are the solutions to the web problems associated with this web. Many services are disappearing, but if we can have a proper preservation policy and then mechanisms built around these repositories, we will be able to preserve these records for a long time. I think that is what I think the collective efforts are needed here. Yes.
Thank you.
Satyaranjan Sahu is unable to unmute. Can you post your question, Satya? Or it is possible to unmute. Can you try? Any other questions? In the meantime, Madhan, I have my observation. You said Professor Balram was mentioning about institutional repositories as burial grounds. Can you just shed some light on it? Why he said and what was the rationale for him to say that?
The main stakeholder of the repositories are not librarians like us. We are just facilitated here. So we should really make the scientists use these repositories on their own to self-archive. So if scientists want to come to your repositories, it should not be just a kind of depository of articles and forget about it. The rest, the technology will take care. We should not stop that way. So we have to build services around repositories, events, and connect users. So we have to conduct programs around, as I mentioned, the most important articles that are hosted in a repository. It should work like an archive. You have to create a display of important papers in a certain topic. and then you have to ask some faculty members to speak about these services. So otherwise, if you just, it will be a kind of depository that nobody will go there, nobody will use it, nobody will feel it as part of their system. So that is the reason why he mentioned, his analog was, his analogy with burial ground. We go once in a while there. We don't go every day. So it should be like a happy place. Yeah.
Probably we have questions. We have time for two more questions. One, probably a kind of observation from Srikanta Sahu. He says that he has worked with you in NIT Rourkela. At your time, it had two IRs, one with ePrint and one with using DSpace. So his question is, which one you suggest is better?
Both are better. Both are better. So what is the difference? There is no better, best, and all. Actually, the person who developed the initial version of the DSpace came from ePrint team only. When the DSpace was funded by Hewlett Packard and the MIT, both of them were actually promoting DSpace that time in their Sun Microsystems computers and terminals. The person came from ePrints. So both are same, both are compliant to protocol. So let's not waste time on 25 years of comparison of two top softwares have already happened. You can choose the one. There are dummy sites available. So just check, compare. If you want to build around the communities and collections method, you choose DSpace. And if you want to have a kind of predetermined forms you needed to for input and output, I think you can choose for ePrints. But ePrints is now an university initiative, still is part of an university initiative. The DSpace has come to the community initiative it is now. You can choose one. I think both are best. There is no problem with both.
Yeah. So in the interest of time, if anybody has any questions, they can always touch base with Madan and ask questions. Probably, I would request Francis sir to please take it forward.
Yeah. Thank you, Babu, for conducting the Q&A session. So my colleague from NCSI Net will propose the vote of thanks, but before that, I'll just have a few remarks. Okay. So at the outset, I would like to thank Madhan for giving us this wonderful lecture. So as Babu rightly said, so it was highly nostalgic for us because some of the slides that Madhan managed to get and Madhan managed to present that had faded even from my memory, because although I worked almost with Rajasekar for about close to 20 years. And most of the developments that happened and most of the things that Madhan talked about during the course of his presentation, I was associated with most of the things that Madhan talked about. And some of it had even faded from my own memory. So it was a good refreshing for me as well. Okay. Now, Madhan mentioned about Memex and Bush. Now, even when it comes to naming the servers, Rajasekar was so kind of a. I mean, he wouldn't just randomly choose a name, but the every server domain name that he associated with, it had a very a practical approach. For example, Memex, as Madhan pointed out, Memex was a system that was visioned by Vannevar Bush. Okay, so Memex is a machine which which he thought about to act as a digital library in the 1950s or 60s when Bush imagined about that. Okay, and then the other server that Madhan mentioned about, the Bush. So Bush is again named after Vannevar Bush. Vannevar Bush, that seminal paper, I don't remember the title of that paper, in which he talks about Memex. So, so that way, whatever Rajasekar did, and I mean, there was a thought process in everything he did. And the best thing about the Rajashekar's approach was that, I mean, anything that he initiated, he will ensure that it reached its logical conclusion or logical end. So that way, the kind of initiatives that the erstwhile NCSI undertook and then implemented and delivered, it was remarkable in a way because, and as Madan rightly pointed out, the team that comprised at NCSI, it was truly excellent. So that was the reason why the NCSI was able to deliver and put to use the emerging technology of internet to its practical use. So thank you, Madan, for uh, uh, running through this excellent presentation and for accepting our invitation and delivering this lecture. And it was wonderful listening to you. And I request my colleague to propose a oath of thanks. Thank you.
Before you close, Dr. Francis, I just want to convey that the mimics, the title of the article was "As We May Think."
As we may think.
Yeah, right. Yeah, correct.
It was published in Atlantic Monthly in 1948.
Atlantic Monthly,
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Satyaranjan Sahu has some issue in logging on. So I take the privilege of proposing the vote of thanks. So I thank Madan for accepting our invitation. And it's been a long time. We have postponed it once. And again, we have come back and we had a very fruitful discussion today. And it's a kind of a nostalgic as well as it took a kind of a learning aspect for us through this. So for accepting our request and delivering a insightful lecture, this lecture, though it is online, was attended by almost like 100 plus people, which is a great news for us in this digital era. So thank you, Madan, for accepting our invitation and doing the honors of delivering this lecture. In fact, indeed, it is really an insightful lecture, and I am sure I would want to see your PPT again to recall many other things which were discussed. Thanks a lot, Madan. And I also thank all the participants, especially a senior most professional Professor Eva Yasundi, who has been my guru as well. So thank you for attending this, sir, and sitting all through. And I thank Dr. Francis,
Thank
sir,
you,
who has been a guide.
Babu. Thank you very much.
I thank Dr. Francis, sir, who has been a guru and a strength behind this, the whole activity. Thank you, sir. I thank all the NCSNs and all the participants, all of them who have made this event a success. Thank you. Have a nice time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thanks once again. Thank you. See you all. Bye.
So I will end the meeting.